Every empire began as an obsession, long before the marble floors were laid, before the armies marched, before the world bent to their will. There was a man, staring into nothing, burning with a thought so vivid it became more real than the world around him. He wasn't born different. He just refused to think like everyone else. You see, the greatest lie you were ever told is that your thoughts don't matter, that a passing dream is just that, a vapor. But history proves otherwise. Every revolution, every invention, every skyscraper that scrapes the heavens was once an obsession. It wasn't a hobby. It wasn't casual. It was maddening, all-consuming, borderline insanity, and that is the birthplace of greatness. Because make no mistake, you become what you obsess over, not what you occasionally wish for, not what you scribble in a notebook once a year, what you think about when no one's watching, what keeps you awake at 3 a.m., what you wake for in silence. That is the blueprint of your becoming. So what are you feeding your mind? That quiet loop playing in your head day in, day out is writing your destiny. If all you feed it is doubt, distraction, and desperation, don't be surprised when your life becomes a mirror of mediocrity. But if you dare to fill it with power, vision, and fire, then everything begins to shift. The world bends to the intensity of the man or woman who refuses to look away from their dream. Edison didn't just invent the light bulb, he became the light. He failed over 10,000 times, not because he was trying, but because he was possessed by a vision of illumination. People laughed, called him crazy. But obsession doesn't ask for permission, it devours. You see, the difference between the average and the exceptional isn't talent, it's obsession. The average dabbles, the exceptional commits. And when commitment turns to obsession, life rearranges itself around it. So many people drift through life like leaves in the wind. They don't know what they want. They don't know who they are. Not because they can't know, but because they've never sat in stillness long enough to ask. The moment gets uncomfortable. They reach for the phone. The silence gets too loud. They scroll, click, consume, numb. They're obsessed, just not with purpose. They're obsessed with escape. And that's the danger, because obsession works both ways. It's not just the creator of empires, it's the killer of potential. Obsess over your limitations, and they become your identity. Obsess over fear, and your life will shrink to fit it. Obsess over validation, and you'll become a prisoner to other people's opinions. Whatever commands your mind controls your life. So the question is not, are you obsessed? The question is, with what? When Henry Ford envisioned a world where every man could own a car, people mocked him. If I had asked people what they wanted, he said, they would have said faster horses. But Ford didn't care about the noise. He cared about the vision that haunted him. He could see it before it existed. That's what obsession does. It allows you to walk in tomorrow while the world is still stuck in yesterday. And if you want to become something more, something greater than the life you've been handed, it starts with turning your casual wishes into focused obsession. Because in a world of distractions, obsession is your superpower. We live in a time where your attention is under siege. Companies fight for it. Algorithms steal it. Notifications break your focus every minute. But the greats, the real builders of legacy, they guard their obsession like a warrior guards his last breath. Because they know the mind is the first battlefield. When there, and everything else follows. So ask yourself, what's your mind rehearsing every day? Is it rehearsing failure or victory? Scarcity or abundance? Fear or fire? You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you rehearse. Over and over, in thought, in action, in discipline. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you demand from yourself relentlessly through your obsession. And that is when transformation begins. Not in sudden moments of brilliance, but in the silent, daily repetition of a single, burning thought. This is who I must become. Clarity is the soil in which obsession takes root. Without it, even the most intense energy dissipates, like fire without direction. It burns everything and builds nothing. But when you possess clarity, true, unshakable clarity, your obsession sharpens. It carves mountains. It silences doubt. It draws a line in the sand between who you are and who you're becoming. That's why you must ask yourself not once, but every day, what do I want so badly I would be willing to sacrifice comfort for it? What future am I willing to bleed for? What vision is worth going mad for? Most people never answer these questions, not because they can't, but because they're afraid of what the answer might demand of them. Because obsession doesn't come cheap. It will cost you your distractions. It will cost you your laziness. It will cost you the version of yourself that settles. But that's the price of greatness. Walt Disney was fired from his first job because they said he lacked imagination. Imagine that fired for not being creative enough. The average man would have folded, shrunk, found something safer. But Walt had a world inside of him he couldn't unseen. A world that didn't exist yet until he made it real. That's the difference. Obsession sees what doesn't yet exist and refuses to rest until the world sees it too. And once you see it, once you truly see your vision, discipline becomes less of a chore and more of a devotion. Discipline isn't punishment. It's worship. It's how you honor the vision that owns you. It's how to make your obsession real. When you truly want something, when you are obsessed, discipline isn't hard. Waking up early isn't a sacrifice. It's a privilege. Saying no to distractions isn't painful. It's clarity. Every drop of sweat, every lonely night, and every unanswered text, it becomes sacred. Because you're not just working hard. You're building the thing you were born to build. But most people will never get there. You know why? Because they confuse interest with commitment. They want change, but not obsession. They want results without transformation. They want the fire, but not the burn. But obsession doesn't work like that. It demands all of you, your time, your energy, your nights, your heart. It's the voice that whispers, keep going, when your legs are shaking, when your hands are blistered, when the world says, enough. Obsession isn't a mood, it's a state of being. It's what allows a man to endure when logic says quit. It's what carried Lincoln through Civil War, through death, through betrayal. Because he believed not in politics, but in a higher destiny for mankind. That wasn't strategy. That was obsession, the kind that rewrites history, and you have that same power within you. But it only awakens when you stop negotiating with mediocrity, when you stop bargaining with fear, when you finally decide, this is who I am, this is what I will build, this is the legacy I will leave behind. That kind of decision burns bridges, it closes escape routes, it doesn't look back, because when you become obsessed, the cost of staying the same becomes more painful than the risk of becoming something greater. So, what's the vision that makes your heart race? What's the version of you that scares your comfort and excites your soul? What if you stopped flirting with it and married it? You don't need permission. You don't need applause. You need conviction. You need discipline forged in the fire of purpose. You need a mind so focused it scares people. A gaze so unshakable that distractions fall away like dust in the wind. Do you know what separates the dreamer from the legend? The legend never turns the obsession off. While the world sleeps, they rehearse. While the world doubts, they prepare. While others celebrate mediocrity, they are plotting immortality, not because they have to, but because they cannot. It's not about being better than others. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. That's what obsession does. It creates an inner war, and in that war, there is no neutrality. You either evolve or you rot. You either build or decay. And those who build every single day. There's no finish line, no rival, only forward, only deeper. Because once you've tasted the power of obsession, the rest of life becomes unbearable. Anything less feels like betrayal. You become what you obsess over. And if you dare to truly own that truth, you'll never be the same again. Obsession without action is just fantasy. The universe doesn't move for the man who only thinks. It moves for the one who dares to act even when the road is dark, even when the outcome is uncertain. Because obsession is not passive. It's not a mood board or an interest vision. Obsession puts on its boots. Obsession bleeds. Obsession builds. Action is how obsession takes form. No matter how clear your vision is, if it stays in your head, it dies with you. You must turn it into motion, forward movement, brutal, unrelenting, day after day motion, even if it's messy, even if you don't know what the hell you're doing. That's what Edison did. That's what Carnegie did. That's what every titan of history did. They moved before they were ready. And they adapted along the way, because obsession doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It creates them. You think Ford had a roadmap. You think Disney had a manual. No, they had an idea that refused to leave them alone, and they took action when no one else would. Action when others hesitated. Action when others quit. Action when the world said, you can't. But let me tell you a secret most won't. Action will not always feel glorious. Some days it will feel like hell. Some days you'll build. And no one will notice, no one will clap, no one will care, the likes won't come, the money won't come, the applause will be silence, And that's where most people give up. Because they never understood obsession is married to resilience. If you want to go beyond average, you will be tested. Life will throw storms at your fire. It will throw delays, detours, and disappointments. It will ask, how badly do you want this? Again and again and again. Most people crumble. But the obsessed, they laughed out because they know something. Most never realize the storm isn't the end. The storm is the forge. You think Lincoln didn't feel the weight of failure? He lost elections. He buried his children. He led a nation that hated him divided, bleeding, broken. But he stayed. He kept moving because his obsession wasn't with power. It was with unity, with the soul of a nation, and that kind of obsession can't be killed. It rises after every blow. You want to become unstoppable? Get obsessed with progress, not perfection. Get obsessed with learning, with pivoting, with showing up even when every cell in your body screams for rest. Your comfort is lying to you. Your fears are lying to you. You're not burned out. You're distracted. You're divided. You're feeding your obsession crumbs and expecting a feast. Feed it with everything. With your focus, with your discipline, with your sweat, with your time. You don't become great by waiting. You become great by acting with intensity in the absence of guarantees. You become great by showing up broken, by showing up tired, by showing up again and again until the world has no choice but to notice. And here's the paradox: the more you act, the stronger the obsession becomes. Each step forward is a signal to your brain. This is who I am now. Not one day, not someday, not maybe if the conditions are right. No, I am this now. I live this now. I build this now. That is how you rewire your identity. You're not chasing a dream. You are becoming the kind of person who is worthy of it. That's the hidden gift of obsession. It transforms you. It chisels you down until the weak parts fall off and only the iron remains. You become someone you barely recognize, stronger, sharper, more focused. But only if you adapt, only if you push, only if you refuse to stop. You can't let your past dictate your persistence. You can't let one failure define your future. You must rise faster than you fall. You must learn faster than you lose. You must be willing to pivot, to grow, to evolve, or your obsession will suffocate under the weight of your pride. The most dangerous enemy of obsession is the ego. Ego says, I already know enough. Obsession says, I will never stop learning. Ego says, I shouldn't fail. Obsession says, every failure is fuel. Ego waits. Obsession creates. So ask yourself, are you waiting for someone to save you? Or are you ready to become the person who saves yourself? The obsessed don't wait to feel inspired. They act, and inspiration follows. They don't wait for clarity. They act, and clarity arrives. They don't wait for strength. They move, and strength is forged in motion. This is not about hype. This is not about chasing dopamine. This is not about chasing success like a child chasing shadows. This is about building a life that demands your full presence. A life you would crawl through fire for. A life that feels like war in the morning and peace at night. Because you know deep in your bones you gave it everything you had. You become what you obsess over. So act like it. Move like it. Adapt like it. And you're like it. Because the future does not belong to the man who waits. It belongs to the one who moves while everyone else watches. You become what you obsess over, but you must also become worthy of what you obsess over. You cannot carry a king's vision with a peasant's habits. You cannot hold a warrior's dream with a victim's identity. You must evolve. You must stretch. You must die to who you were in order to be reborn into who you're meant to be. Obsession is not just a feeling. It's a furnace. It will burn away your excuses. It will destroy your laziness. It will put your ego on trial and demand that you trade who you think you are for who you must become. That's the sacred path of reinvention. Most people spend their lives avoiding it. They run from discomfort. They protect their old identities like relics. I've always been this way. That's just who I am. No, that's who you've chosen to remain. Obsession doesn't care who you were. It's only interested in who you're willing to become, and becoming requires unlearning. You must unlearn what the world taught you about limits. You must unlearn the belief that comfort equals happiness. You must unlearn the lie that greatness is reserved for the lucky few, because it's not. Greatness is reserved for the obsessed. And obsession learns relentlessly. You want to be powerful? Then study those who were. Not from the surface, from the root. Study Carnegie's hunger. Study Lincoln's sorrow. Study the pain that molded Martin Luther King into a symbol of unbreakable will. Read not just their victories, but their failures, their contradictions, their nights of doubt, because obsession is not blind motivation. It is intelligent fire. It learns, it adapts, it refines itself daily. If your dream is not making you smarter, sharper, more emotionally intelligent, then it's not obsession. It's fantasy dressed in passion's clothing. The obsessed are students of life. Every loss is a lesson. Every mistake is data. Every no is a sharpening stone. They don't cry about rejection, they harvest it. They don't run from failure, they dissect it. Because every wound is a whisper from the future saying, this is part of the process. But here's what separates the truly obsessed from the masses. They don't just collect knowledge, they apply it. You can read every book on earth, but if you don't do, you'll stay small. If you don't take risks, if you don't change your behavior, if you don't adjust your habits, you'll stay trapped in your old life, brilliant in theory, bankrupt in reality. Learning must lead to becoming, and becoming requires identity. Shift. Your old self, the one who hesitated, doubted, delayed, he can't come with you. You have to bury him. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I am done with who I used to be. I'm not just changing what I do, I'm changing who I am. Because at the deepest level, we do not rise to the level of our dreams. We rise or fall to the level of our identity. So, who are you? Not on paper, not on your social media bio. Who are you when no one's watching? What standards do you live by in the dark? What thoughts do you entertain when it's just you and your mind? That's your real identity, and that's what must change if you want the obsession to bear fruit. You must tell yourself a new story, and not just once, every day, every moment. I am the kind of person who finishes. I am the kind of person who acts with power. I am the kind of person who turns pain into purpose. You speak it until your nervous system believes it, until your feet move like it, until your actions scream it to the world. This is an affirmation. This is identity engineering. And when identity aligns with obsession, you become dangerous. Because now you don't need willpower. Now, your discipline is automatic. Now your actions are effortless. Now, every step you take reinforces who you are, and who you are reinforces every step you take. That is the death spiral of mediocrity and the birth spiral of legacy. And that's the end game, isn't it? Legacy, not applause, not viral moments, not rented success that fades with the algorithm. Legacy, something that outlives you, something that still speaks long after you're gone. That is the mark of the obsessed. They don't build for attention, they build for eternity. They know the world will forget a man who chased comfort, but it will never forget the one who chased purpose with fire in his eyes. So stop playing small, stop waiting, stop negotiating with your lower self. Step into the version of you that builds with conviction, that speaks with authority, that walks like he's already become what he sees in his mind. You become what you obsess over. And if your obsession is tied to impact, if it's tied to truth, if it's tied to something bigger than your name, then you've already won. The rest is just time catching up to who you decided to become. You become what you obsess over, but most people never ask the terrifying question, what if I'm obsessed with the wrong thing? What if every day you wake up, scroll, compare, chase, and repeat? What if you're wiring your mind for a life you don't even want? What if you're becoming the kind of person you were never meant to be? That's the part no one talks about. Obsession is neutral. It doesn't care if it builds your dream or your destruction. It only amplifies what you feed it. So I ask you now, not casually, but with intensity, what are you becoming right now? Because it's happening whether you realize it or not. Every thought you allow in, every habit you repeat, every standard you accept, it's stacking into your becoming, layer by layer, brick by brick, thought by thought. And here's the chilling truth. You won't notice until it's too late, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you no longer recognize yourself. Not because you failed, but because you've settled for less, for ease, for noise, for distraction. You gave your obsession to things that numbed you instead of things that built you. And now, the fire inside is faint. But it doesn't have to stay that way, because even now, at this exact moment, you have a choice, a rare one, to redirect your obsession, to seize your future before someone else defines it for you. But don't get it twisted, this choice will cost you. It will cost you your old identity. It will cost you your false safety. It will cost you the illusions you've clung to like armor. You must die to become. The weaker you must fall. The older story must shatter. The easy path must be burned. And through the smoke of that sacrifice, something new rises, a new version of you, stronger, clearer, wilder, hungrier, a version of you that doesn't negotiate with fear, doesn't apologize for vision, doesn't shrink in the presence of mediocrity. But here's the twist. Just when you think you've arrived, life will test you again. It will throw you in the storm again. It will rip away comfort again. It will ask, is your obsession real? Or was it just hype? Because the real becoming has only just begun. You thought this was the peak. No, this is only the climb. You thought you understood your power. You've only scratched the surface. The road ahead is darker, the stakes higher, the pressure heavier, and what waits at the summit. That is something we'll talk about soon, but only if you're ready. Only if you still hear the voice inside whispering, there's more to you, more to your mission, more to unlock, to destroy, to rebuild, to become. But beware, the next stage requires something far more dangerous than passion. It requires the death of comfort, the discipline of kings, and a heart that refuses to break even when everything around it does. Will you be there? Will you walk deeper into the fire when the world begs you to turn back? Or will you fade into the noise, forgotten like the millions who almost became? Because next time, we won't just talk about obsession. We'll go into the darkness behind it, where most never dare to go, where obsession turns to legacy or to madness, where you meet the final version of yourself and must decide whether to rise or fall. Stay ready, because soon we go even deeper, and not everyone makes it out.